What's happening to Sound Clash culture is that every year we have a graduating class, but there's no freshmen. Eventually the school is going to be empty, right? And the alumni is going to have to come back to attend the school. Where does that happen? It's not practical. You know, we are supposed to be helping these young sounds get in. You know what I mean? And I'm at a point where, I mean, I can say that I have to share some of the blame. Because the point that I'm at now, maybe I should have been at that point 5 years ago. Maybe I should have seen it 5 years ago and said, listen, Mataran's at the top of his game. You know, Mighty Crown and Jaro and everybody's at the top of their game. Let's get in all of these young sounds. You know, but another challenge that you do have as a promoter is that the audience always says, every year I see them sound them their yours. And then when you change, where they sound them there where we want to sit. A teeth with, you know?
Watch out, boom shot. You tell him so there's a make the weight and Burma now. So this one is short shot. It can't stop. Boom shots.
Boom shots.
Right? In 2012, we launched a campaign called Reset, and it was a phenomenal campaign. And we got to a point where I started to see that the industry was in jeopardy for many years, and I know that Rob could testify for this. There was two industries in the sound system culture. There's the juggling industry, Stone Love, Metro Media, Gemini, whoever, and then you have Kilimanjaro, Bayside SC, Bodyguard, and everything. It's been two industries, right? And Reset is an acronym for Restoring Exciting Sound System Entertainment Together, right? So that restoring exciting sound system entertainment together means juggling sounds, clash sounds coming together, because now the industry is in jeopardy. It's not about you being over there and me being here. It's about us coming together to save sound system culture, not juggling culture or clash culture, but the culture, right? So using all of these things that we have implicated in our branding, you know, as we move along, all of these things are now present in the Rumble. So juggling sounds, as respective areas can juggle, clash sounds can come in, 45s can be played. You know, it gives everybody a chance to say, I can be a sound boy, successful, get a career off of it and stuff like that. Because, you know, we want people to be able to make money off of sound system culture. Because if no one can make a business out of the culture becomes a hobby, and the hobby gets kicked to the wayside. You know what I mean? And I love, you know, the Firelinks, the Matarans, and the Mighty Crowns, and I love them to death. Those are my guys. Those are who I came up with in the industry. But it's time that we go sit down.
Right.
You know, our time is coming to set back and allow the new generation to take it on, and we still do what we do, but we need more at the forefront.
How do they feel about seeing that?
They hate it.
I mean,
they hate it.
I just can't imagine.
But guess what? King Jammins and Black Scorpio and Downbeat, they probably hated it too. When the new era of sounds came in, you know, if you go back to the culture, right, of the sound system culture, you would hear them say, Stone Love come in with them little disco song, come mash up the thing. Or you would hear, if you're in England, you would hear them say, oh, Asha World come in and two turntable and a juggling thing and mash up dancer. So everybody who is, you know, who has, you know, been at the forefront of anything, when it's time for them to, they never go peacefully. but the feelings of Mighty Crown and Firelinks and, you know, all of these great selectors and Trooper is not more important to me than the actual growth of the the survival of the culture. You know what I mean? So we're not saying they can't compete anymore. I'm merely gonna try to construct another platform in which they can now compete, but give the world-class stage to these sounds. How much world-class titles can you win?
I ask those guys because I'm pretty sure they will say a lot.
You know what I mean? How much can you win before everybody says, yeah, I get the point, yeah, bad so. You know what I mean? Give somebody else a chance, you know? So that's where we are.
I feel like you've kind of heightened the competition, because I saw it when, you know, the Jamrock Cruise was a good example of, you know, Mighty Crown was like, screw that.
Right.
We're still taking it. So, you know, you have almost heightened the competition by introducing these newer faces and these newer people, because the older sound systems still want to continue to prove.
And I know that you can testify because you was there. The Jamrock Cruise was exciting, you know, and that's what it has to be. When you leave a Clash event and you walk into your car, you're supposed to say, damn, I enjoyed myself. Even though my sound never win, me enjoy myself, right? You're not supposed to be walking to your car, your feet are hurting you, or you're saying, waste my money and my time for coming here. And that's the direction that most of our clashes are going into. You know what I mean? Because again, this marriage to tradition is hurting the growth, right? And you know, I look at this, the analogy that I use of what's going on in Sound Clash culture is like a school. Every year, a graduating class and a freshman class. That's how school goes, right? So the 9th graders come into high school, the 12th graders graduate. What's happening to Sound Clash culture is that every year we have a graduating class, but there's no freshmen. Eventually the school is going to be empty, right? And the alumni is going to have to come back to attend the school. Where does that happen? It's not practical, you know? We are supposed to be helping these young sounds get in. You know what I mean? And I'm at a point where, I mean, I can say that I have to share some of the blame. Because the point that I'm at now, maybe I should have been at that point 5 years ago. Maybe I should have seen it 5 years ago and said, listen, Mataran's at the top of his game, you know, Mighty Crown and Jaro and everybody's at the top of their game. Let's get in all of these young sounds, you know? But another challenge that you do have as a promoter is that the audience always says, every year I see them sound them, they're yours. And then when you change, where they sound them there where we want to sit. I teeth with, you know what I mean? So it's as a promoter, because
you have one of the hardest jobs.
It's a hard job because I'm a sound enthusiast and a fanatic, and I'm a promoter at the same time. And sometimes finding that medium is extremely difficult.
Well, I'm sure also as a business, like some, you know, it's easy to say this has to happen or that has to happen, but as a business, any business, it's always a risk factor whenever you make a change in what you have already. I mean, this year I heard Sting in Jamaica will no longer go on.
Right.
And this is an exact reason. Once you start playing, you know, it's always a risk.
It's always a risk. It's always...
So when does a business person make that decision?
2016, I made a decision to change the format of World Clash, and we dubbed it World Clash: The Rise of New Champions, right? And it only featured young talent. Some of them were picked and others won Rumbles in their region. So it was a bunch of new faces. It wasn't any face of former world champions or former you know, Sound Clash heroes. And it was the smallest attendance that I've ever had in 15 years for World Clash, or close to 20 years.
How did you feel?
I felt like there's a lot of work that needs to be done, because it was an example of people say what they want, but then they don't support what they want, you know? Because it's like, okay, Shane, World Clash will come, it's the same sounds you're gonna put back on the stage, blah, 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 blah. We already know what's gonna happen. And the same people who now you say, okay, here is a new face, is the same ones who say, I'll listen to the audio. I'm not gonna go out and support it. So it showed me that there's a lot of work to be done. Now, it didn't flop because the crowd that World Clash normally gets is so ginormous that if you even get half of that crowd or less than half of that crowd, you're still ahead of most of the other promoters that's keeping events, right? But for me, it was like, damn, I have a lot of work to do. And this is when, you know, right after that, I started to get these rumbles going. And started to build these stories. And it's gonna take me maybe 2017, the rise of New Champions is probably gonna be a mellow crowd too. But in 1998, when we erected World Clash with Sir Coxon from England, Downbeat, and Kilimanjaro, it was about 700 people. It's about 700 people. So we lived to see that start with 700 people and World Clash being taken to Jamaica and getting up to 8,000 people in attendance. You know? So it starts, it's a seed, you know? And maybe I can start the seed and maybe somebody else can come up and finish it.
But it also sounds like to be a forward-thinking person, you almost have to be penalized.
You have to. I you know, we've invested and we've lost a ridiculous amount of money in World Clash. You know, we've now been able to take World Clash from starting in the US. We took it to Jamaica. So and it was dubbed Debt Before Dishonor World Clash Jamaica. Awesome outdoor, real Jamaican vibe. People are still asking, when are we bringing World Clash back to Jamaica? We also took it to Canada for maybe 2 or 3 years. Awesome vibe, you know what I mean? One time it was also in Antigua. So we started to move it around, right? We also play a heavy role in UK Cup Clash, which is a UK version of World Clash, you know what I mean? So World Clash has been able to spiral the whole culture,
Right.
not to mention the other promoters around the world who has taken the World Clash formula and did their own annual events. So World Clash was the birth of a new generation of sound clashing. It's now time to take the risk. And I gotta take the risk again, and I gotta say, okay, the rise of new champions, which is really difficult. And the reason why it's difficult is because we have to erect all of these annual clashes, and then at the end of it all, we have to keep World Clash.
Is it like finding that sweet spot? Because you have, and you know, does Irish and Chin has been in the game long enough to kind of have this sweet spot, because you have to have the respect of the older, players, and then you have to have respect of the new generation who are looking up, because you can't ultimately lose the older fans just to gain newer fans. So is that the thing that Irish and Chin is going through right now?
It's a hard blend. It's a really hard blend, you know, because the older people want to see what the older people want to see. The younger people want to see what the younger people want to see. I don't know if I will ever wake up one morning and say yes. You know, so what I have been doing is creating events under the Irish and Chin umbrella where everybody gets their special event. You know what I mean? So still sound system culture, but we have Rewind. And Rewind is where you'll go and you'll see Shabba Ranks around a sound with Josie Wales and and all of these legendary artists, and you're getting U-Roy there and they're doing their thing. And it satisfies that older crowd. So they may say, boy, Chin take a World Clash from me, but we get this. You know what I mean? And then you have Sound Chat Radio, where we educate the older people about what happened before. We celebrate what happened before, but at the same time, we talk about what needs to happen now. So we kind of get them, their mind conditioned to what is to come, And then you have Rise of New Champions, where it's just focused on the young sounds. And then of course, last year, 2016, I was able to pull off keeping the first outdoor sound system festival in New York,
Wow.
which was Vibes in the Park, Soundfest, which, people got to see the likes of Bodyguard, Stone Love, Metro Media, Mighty Crown, Addies, so all of these big names, Massive B, Road International. We took all of these, I think it was about 15 sounds, and we put them on stage. No artists, just sound systems, and we say, yo, you got 15 minutes, do your thing, and we sold it as a sound system stage show, and people bought into it. They came with their picnic chairs, and we had vendors, and again, celebrating sound system
Right.
culture in a different aspect. So I will never promise anyone that World Clash will be the same, because the times have changed. Maybe in the future we'll do a World Clash, reunion.
Right.
And we bring back all of the guys for a one night, alumni type thing. But, I'm trying not to be a victim of what I see happening, and it's getting stuck
Right.
in tradition. And good businessmen know when it's time to quit. You know when it's time to go on to the next thing. You know what I mean? And you always walk away when it may be warm, but you never walk away when it's cold.
Right.
Because when it's cold, that's what people's gonna remember. So when they walk into World Clash one year and they see that there's only 500 people in there, what they're gonna remember is 500 people came to World Clash. They're not gonna remember that this is the stage that the stars were born,
Well, you guys are also like referees. You have to play fair, and if you don't give the people something to transition in enough time, you've also not done your job in that sense. So that's exactly how it seemed. And the referee gets shouted at once in a while.
This is this is the real. This is the real. This is the core. This is clashing without the commercialization, without anything. It's just the core, thing. And I would love to get the corporate sponsors involved, and I would love to make this thing a major thing. You know what I mean? it would be so helpful to
Right,
us.
of course.
But at the same time, if we don't get it, we still have a responsibility to keep it open, because my company, which is now celebrating 20 years.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. We're celebrating 20 years this year. It's built off of sound system culture. So, I employ 12 people, like this, like that. I have all of these brands, but at the end of the day, I have to continue saying thank you to where we come from.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we came from this. So we're going to ride it out as far as we can to keep it alive until somebody else shows themselves with the potential to say, okay, and take it again. You know what I mean? I always say I want to be like Charles Barkley and those guys, where they used to play basketball, but now they sit up in the booth and they say, oh, he's Jordan, oh, he's Larry Bird, yeah, this guy's that guy. I want to be able to do that as well. You know what I mean? I don't want it to die.
As long as it's a VIP booth. All inclusive, right? So before I wrap this up, who's performing? Who are the sound systems? Has all the names been announced?
All the names have been announced. I don't know all the names off the top of my head, and I don't want to forget any name.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I don't want to mention anyone. 6 sound systems, dominant sound systems in their respective area.
All from Canada.
All from
around.
Canada, right? So this is all from Canada.
And where is it taking place?
It's taking place in Toronto, Canada, right? Of course, it's like Brooklyn in New York, you know what I mean? It gotta be in Toronto. That's where the energy is. This is the 2nd annual one, and huge sound. It's a huge anticipation for these sound systems, because this year is going to be a special year. And why it's going to be a special year is because the world champion is Canadian. So whoever wins the Canadian Rumble is going to face their own, countrymen.
You're gonna start a war
A civil war in an international war is what we're looking for, which is exciting. You know what I mean? So not only is the sound system thriving to go to World Clash, but they're thriving to face their fellow country champion title holder to say, listen, I'm gonna kill you here. You know what I mean? So 2 Canadian sounds at World Clash 2017 is phenomenal, but it all starts, with who wins in Canada. 6 sound systems, full of dub plates, full of energy, full of speech, full of support from the so everyone who's coming to this stage this year has their own little crew. You know what I mean? They have their own little crew coming to cheer for them, and it's just gonna be phenomenal. I'm excited about it, and I can't wait. And after that's done, we move on to the US.
So King Tubba, only a few weeks left to get those VIP all access passes or whatever they're using.
Yeah.
Their status
Yeah.
is, only a few weeks left.
Yeah, and again, we have to congratulate King Turbo, because King Turbo is a true success story for what we're trying to put forth. Entering the Rumble, winning it, then winning World Clash. It makes it possible. It makes that young sound say, if them do it,
Exactly.
we can do it too.
And what's Toronto like? I know this is, everyone's talking about, Drake is one of the biggest international stars. He really reps Toronto. Toronto really has a great Caribbean population that is really into. Is that what you're finding that by putting these shows on?
Yeah, because remember I said we used to do World Clash in Canada, right? So that energy is
That
there.
reception.
That reception for the clashing is there. There's a lot of sound systems there. Canada also has a rich history of sound culture, because some of the big sound owners migrated to Canada and was there for a while and so forth. So Canada kind of has their own sound system scene and culture, and so forth and so forth. So there is hungry fans there, for sound system and sound clash culture. And then when you put a good competition together, they come out and
support, and
they support. And this makes it a little bit more meaningful, because you don't want to be that sound to represent your country at World Clash. So you want to be there to say, boo, you can't go. Or you want to be there to say, yeah, send him. And that's what this is about. That's what this Rumble is about. It's about Sound Clash people coming together from an era to say, nah, you're not ready. Don't go and embarrass us. Let him go. And people want to have that right. They don't want to have that right the day after, because then you're like a Monday morning quarterback. You know what I mean? You want to have it during the Super Bowl. You want to have your vote at that time. So it's a phenomenal thing. And again, it's not the answer to all of the things that we're facing in our culture, sound system wise, but it's a step towards the right direction. You know what I mean? And I want to say this. I don't want people to feel like we feel that we have all the answers.
Right.
But it's not about having all the answers. It's about doing something to correct the situation that is at hand. And we are actually putting our money where our mouth is, investing back into where we're coming from, and creating things like this and moving forward.
Where can everybody find? Can people still go? Is it somewhere people can still attend?
Yes, it is the Canada. It is the La Victoria Banquet Hall. It's going to be on January 28th, which is a few weeks from now. You can buy your tickets on IrishandChin.com. And you can find out all your information on IrishandChin.com, or my regular sound chat show. We talk about it all the time and exchange ideas, take votes of who we think is going to win or whatever. But again, if you can't make it to Rumble Canada, try to make it to a Rumble that's coming near you, in your town. I didn't get a chance to tell you guys about the Rumble in the Caribbean, but we are going to do like a Caribbean Rumble, and that's going to be so wicked.
When you say Caribbean, does it?
I don't want to do this Jamaica,
all right?
Because the times are changing now, and most of the sound people who are playing sound systems now, they're not even dead as Caribbean.
Yeah.
They're not solely Jamaican. So what we're gonna do is each year we'll pick a Caribbean country, but then the Jamaicans will fly over, the Antiguans will fly over, the Barbadians will fly over, and we'll keep a Rumble in the Caribbean. Now whoever wins the Caribbean Rumble, their country goes to World Clash. So if the Jamaicans win, the Jamaicans will be represented at World Clash. The Antiguans win, and so forth and so forth.
Oh, so the competition gets
even
sweeter.
tighter. So moving forward, you can actually see, and this has never been done before, but you can actually see a World Clash without a Jamaican sound.
Well, it all sounds very exciting.
Crazy.
Congratulations. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.